Hi, I'm Ray from PhoneArena and you're watching our video comparison between the iPad Air and the Sony Xperia Tablet Z. The Sony Xperia Tablet Z has been among the finest Android tablets out there since its introduction in the first half of the year, but now it has a tough task ahead of it. We are pitting it against the Apple iPad Air, which is the undisputed leader in the tablet space. Apple's latest tablet has an amazing design that not only looks and feels good, but is also quite compact and lightweight. Well, surprise surprise, because lightweight has been something the Tablet Z had right from the start. But are its other aspects just as good so that it can put up a fight against the iPad Air? Let's explore. The Tablet Z is about an inch taller than its opponent, but it makes up for this with the record slim 0.27-inch profile, though with 0.3 inches the iPad Air isn't far behind either. When it comes to weight, Apple's aluminum slate is just about a pound, an amazing feat considering that it sports a premium metal body. Not that the Xperia Tablet Z isn't very light for a 10-incher too. The rubberized housing of the Tablet Z doesn't look as premium as the precision-cut aluminum of the iPad Air, but such a craftsmanship is for good reason, since Sony's tablet is IP57 certified, meaning you can dip it in up to 3 feet of water and it can still stay there for half an hour without any damage. The buttons on both slates are easy to feel and press with good tactile feedback. Looking further around the side, Sony's tablet also features tight protective flaps on top of the memory card slot, headphone and charging ports, which have to be closed tight for the waterproof certification to do its deed. The 9.7-inch iPad Air has hands down a better display than the one that comes with the Xperia Tablet Z, as it's equipped with perhaps the best tablet screen out there. We aren't only referring to the excellent 2048 by 1536 resolution, but also to the very realistic colors. The Xperia Tablet Z still sports a very nice 10.1-inch display with 1920 by 1200 pixels of resolution, which returns a decent 224 ppi pixel density. The colors look a bit washed out while in the interface or apps, but Sony's mobile Bravia Engine 2 bumps up the contrast and makes them more saturated when showing pictures or video. As for viewing angles, both tablets perform admirably, with contrast and brightness starting to noticeably fade only at extreme angles, which is good if you're sharing your tablet screen with someone. The iPad Air sports the latest iOS 7, while Sony's Tablet Z is still waiting on Android 4.3, and even that will be a step below the recent 4.4 KitKat release. Sony's own social Wi-Fi interface overlay, however, has enough features to make it stick as it is. Android's versatile interface and widget system are pitted here against the much improved notification and control centers on the iPad, which get called with a down or up swipe respectively. With events and weather notifications covered and connectivity and brightness toggled, plus music player management conveniently located, one can argue that iOS 7 meets Android's notification bar versatility now. Android's widget system remains an incredibly helpful tool though, especially on such a large screen, whereas with iOS 7 you still have to constantly go in and out of apps. At least multitasking is greatly improved in Apple's latest mobile OS version, allowing you to quickly switch between the apps used at the moment. Being announced way back in January, the Tablet Z sports a quad-core 1.5 GHz Snapdragon S4 Pro chipset with Adreno 320 GPU. That's no match for Apple's A7 Beast, which sports a 64-bit architecture, vastly improved graphics compared to the previous A6X chip, and a dedicated M7 coprocessor for always-on motion sensing tasks. The A7 excels in benchmarks and is tightly woven with iOS 7, which has been optimized on the system level for the 64-bit processing. This kind of integration allows the iPad Air to perform admirably with 1 GB of RAM, whereas the flagship standard on the Android side is now 2 GB, exactly what the Tablet Z sports. You can, however, notice choppiness in the Tablet Z's interface, as well as some lag going in and out of apps, whereas the interface and apps simply fly on the iPad Air. Still, Sony's tablet sports a notable advantage before the iPad, as it features an easily accessible microSD slot for storage expansion, in addition to the 16 GB of internal memory. Meanwhile, you cannot expand the storage of the iPad Air, meaning that you have to choose wisely when deciding whether to pick the 16, 32 or 64 GB model. Apple's Safari browser is vastly improved in iOS 7, offering faster and sleeker browsing than ever before. It sports a few extra features like reading mode that strips articles of distracting elements such as ads or pictures, and its text reflow is superb, snapping to the paragraphs with tiny margins on the sides to make reading even easier on the eyes with this excellent display. The default browser on the Xperia Tablet Z is Chrome, and Sony doesn't provide its own stock browser like Samsung or LG do. Mobile Chrome has been getting much faster and better lately. If you long for Adobe Flash support though, you'd have to grab another browser from the Play Store and sideload Flash. Sony put last year's 8MP Exmor-R sensor in the Tablet Z, skipping on the LED flash, which we can't say we missed that much on the slate. The iPad Air's 5MP camera doesn't sport a flash either. The Tablet Z's camera app offers a full monty of Sony's shooting modes like Intelligent Auto, Sweep, Panorama, HDR, Burst Shot, nifty color effects and so on. The iPad Air has a very simplified interface, though it does have Panorama and shooting modes of its own. Pictures from the Sony Tablet Z turn out rather soft and lacking detail from aggressive noise suppression, plus they're quite oversaturated, two features that Sony's mobile camera software settings seem to never be able to shake off lately. The iPad Air churns out quite pleasant photos when there's plenty of light around, with enough detail, a tad saturated colors and decent automatic exposure. Noise and blur naturally creep up indoors when the light dims down, sometimes to unacceptable levels with the iPad Air. Photos from the Tablet Z also get rather noisy in such conditions too, so make sure that there is plenty of light before you snap a shot with any of the two tablets indoors. Video is captured with Full HD resolution and fluid 30 FPS by both slates. On the Tablet Z, it exhibits the same smudgy, oversaturated looks as the still shots, while the iPad Air records pretty decent footage with no visible artifacts, vivid colors and enough detail. The Tablet Z plays every major video format, including DivX, XVID, MKV, up to Full HD definition right out of the box, with no need to download an additional app except for some extra features. The iPad Air, being an iOS device, requires you to convert some of those formats first before they can be played with the stock video application. Equipped with lithium polymer batteries, the two tablets' juicer capacities are quite different. 8,820 mAh for the iPad Air against a much smaller 6,000 mAh battery on the Tablet Z. Sony still cites close to 10 hours of video playback on a charge, as much as Apple claims for the iPad Air. The Xperia Tablet Z is a remarkable tablet. It has an eye-catchy ultra-thin and light design, which is also waterproof. However, it also has that Sony skin on top of Android OS that's nicely polished, but we aren't really sure if it adds anything meaningful to the platform. We do prefer the metal build of the iPad Air, though the glass and plastic build of the Tablet Z is also quite fancy. Overall though, with its newer internals and way better app catalog, the iPad Air proves to be the nicer tablet of the two. The Tablet Z is a great tablet, but it's really the poorer app catalog that holds it back in this comparison.